Before we get started, this video was a request by one of the wonderful Subscribe Star Bros. This video is one that's been long awaited and I'm really excited to finally talk about this. It's trippy as hell and infinitely imaginative. That is a must watch if you ever want to get into the medium that is known as anime. It's time to return to our old friend Satoshi Kon. Paranoia Agent. Yeah, this is one hell of a series. So we dipped our toes into Satoshi Kon's works more than once on this channel, covering things like Perfect Blue and Tokyo Godfathers. For those unaware, Satoshi Kon was an acclaimed anime director well known for his detailed and very abstract style of animation and storytelling, blurring the lines of dream and reality, usually exploring themes of identity and what makes something truly exist or not. Well, this is the next step in his lineup, the cult hit Paranoia Agent. Paranoia Agent is the psychological thriller dark comedy series that came out in 2004. It follows a police investigation looking into a growing number of attacks in modern-day Tokyo. They all seem to be connected to a mysterious child only known as Bat Boy, a kid who rolls around on roller skates and swings at seemingly random victims with a bent golden baseball bat. Now, to get out of the way, Paranoia Agent is a very trippy show. On paper, it's a mystery where two detectives are trying to find the truth behind the assault of a famous character designer who just unveiled the ultra-popular character Maromi, a pink dog that explodes into popularity and quickly becomes an icon for Tokyo. But very quickly, Paranoia Agent turns into a different beast. It becomes more about the impact that the rumors around Bat Boy have on society and the people who live in it. The story is sort of a soft anthology, each episode following different characters with references to the larger plot as a connecting tissue. You see who each character is, their psychology, and eventually see why Bat Boy picks them as a victim. And every attack builds up more and more lore around Bat Boy and why he's doing all this, showing how each one becomes more violent, deranged, and eventually falling into full-blown murder. Now, Paranoia Agent is a very popular anime, one that helped cement Satoshi Kon as a major director with a loyal cult following, and something that honestly holds up to this day on almost every level. The animation is still just as abstract and detailed as much of Satoshi Kon's other works, with very memorable art style to it that sticks in your brain, and there are sequences that are downright breathtaking in how they're handled. Plus, a lot of the themes it tackles are still relevant right now, hell, even more so considering the age of social media. Add in the outright fantastic soundtrack by the great Susumu Hirasawa, and you have something that is just impossible to ignore. Even the intro for the anime is so creative, just showing the cast standing in place, laughing, as the song Dream Island Obsessional Park blasts over them. On top of just being a fantastic song, it's something that really pushes the vibe that something is wrong. Despite the characters laughing, there's horrible imagery behind them of ruined towns, nuclear explosions, death. Something about it is just not right. The tone of Paranoia Agent is probably the biggest thing to talk about since it's not one solid thing. The anime has a variety to it, going from psychological horror to outright comedy more than once, and everything in between, sometimes at the same time. With the ensemble style, you see all sorts of different perspectives, each one seeing the world in different ways, with different problems and stresses in their lives. Some are more pathetic than others, some are more relatable, and some are outright disturbing and tragic. Paranoia Agent, if you really had to pin it down, is basically Japan's answer to Twin Peaks. You have a central mystery with supernatural elements that's more so used to explore a variety of characters and their secrets, the mystery used as the primer for their meltdowns. Bat Boy flows from victim to victim, each one having some massive dark secret that they want to keep hidden at all costs. Some are more literal secrets, and others are just delusional assholes that refuse to admit something to themselves that others directly tell them about. Paranoia Agent is a fantastic story about people, from the better parts of humanity to the much, much worse. And despite how bright and colorful the anime can look at times, the material it dips into can be extremely unsettling. Everything from mental illness, suicide, to outright incestuous sexual abuse. And Paranoia Agent explores all of this very bluntly and honestly. The whole series is 13 episodes, so it's not the longest thing ever made, but the story it wants to tell doesn't really need multiple seasons or anything like that. In fact, that would start to be a detriment considering what it's shooting for. It's meant to stick to that very dreamlike, intentionally vague tone that things like Perfect Blue and Paprika shoot for, so if it stretched any more than it already it does, it could easily start to feel more dragged down than anything. Of course, name-dropping Paprika and Perfect Blue implies that there's a lot of dream logic at play, and that is true. While some scenes are literal and grounded, I mean, there's outright monologues explaining certain details in the story, there's still the classic intentional plot holes that Satoshi Kon is known for, leaving out chunks of the story in order to solidify an uncomfortable vibe through the whole show. Plus, it allows for the audience to interpret the story how they wish, as a lot of details are left open-ended for you to paint how you see fit, to the point that 10 different people can watch Paranoia Agent and see 10 different stories. That's not to say it doesn't have its own story to tell, it's just the specifics will stick out to you in different ways. Now, I want to talk about this series more in depth, but this is an anime you should really go in blind for, so I'll put a spoiler warning up for now. Please sit down to watch Paranoia Agent before going any further. It's a fantastic series that you will absolutely love if you have any appreciation for more out there and abstract stories, or if you're just a Satoshi Kon fan. No matter, sit down, check it out, you won't regret it. So Paranoia Agent is actually a very sad story when you break it down. The Twin Peaks comparison wasn't made lightly. Sure, you hear the words and immediately assume things like Silent Hill, Alan Wake, Gozu, or Deadly Premonition, small town of quirky people and a horrible supernatural entity manipulating everything behind the scenes. Paranoia Agent isn't really like that. The setting is in the middle of Tokyo, and the supernatural is more of a response to the characters than anything intentionally plotting, but the vibe of Twin Peaks is still down pat. The dream logic and exploration of a group of characters that, at first, look quirky and lovable, and as they're explored are revealed to be broken, tragic people, or even outright despicable and evil, to the point that the characters are almost unrecognizable by the end of the anime. There's a lot of different characters in Paranoia Agent, who have a lot of different arcs. You have a boy who's caught in the crossfires of the Bat Boy rumors, going from the most popular kid in school to an anxiety-ridden shut-in, though it's revealed he's nowhere near as innocent as he would have you believe, a prostitute suffering from multiple personality disorder who's struggling to contain her illness, especially as she's about to get married, a police officer who always sees himself as the hero even as he does things that guarantee he's going to hell once he dies. Each one is fleshed out, getting their own dedicated episodes that explore who they are as individuals and how they react to the growing influence of Bat Boy. Some stories feed into others, since certain characters are related to each other, and all of them are investigated by the two detective characters, Kaiichi Ikari and Mitsuhiro Manawa, and even they aren't immune to Bat Boy's influence, themselves dealing with their own psychological struggles and stresses. The central figure of the investigation is Tsukiko Sagi, a famous character designer who is very introverted and shy that recently had a major hit with Moromi, a Hello Kitty style mascot that's a pink dog. The success of the character was a double-edged sword, however. Now she's put under immense pressure to create a second character that's equally as popular, which is shown to be an impossibility. The strict deadline is thrown to chaos by the attack from Bat Boy, breaking her leg and kicking off the series of events that grow increasingly dire and dangerous. A lot of circumstances around the attack are strange, and the detectives are skeptical if it even happened in the first place, assuming that Tsukiko made the whole thing up. Despite this, the rumors spread like wildfire. The public consumed with Bat Boy almost as much as they are with Moromi, and the stories are kicked into overdrive when other people claim to be victims. A growing number of attacks, each one with conflicting details and MOs that don't really seem to connect to each other at all. The only thing tying the victims all together are soft associations, and a common thread of each victim being desperate to escape their problems. Paranoia Agent at its core is a story about hysteria, about how a single story can become massively popular almost overnight, even if all the details aren't even out yet, which is why I said that this series is still pretty damn relevant. We've seen countless times how many different stories can spread all over Twitter or Reddit before the details fully come out, to the point that the public can come up with an entirely separate version based off pure speculation and just compounding fake details, only for it all to go up in smoke once the truth is revealed. Even then, you'll still have large chunks of people that still believe in the imaginary story. Paranoia Agent is very good at displaying rumors and rumor culture, how easily one small story leads to speculation and evolves into a massive rabbit hole. And the best part is that the anime never confirms which Bat Boy story is really fake. You get one instance that is a blatant copycat, which is actually the story of the schoolboys, but every other story you hear in passing is kept into the realm of, it could be real, especially when it's made clear that supernatural elements are very much at play here. There's a reason why so many details of Bat Boy don't make any sense. Now, there's a very clear bait and switch about halfway through the series. They confirm that Tsukiko made the story up, that she broke her own leg during a nervous breakdown, desperate to get away from her deadline and just get some breathing room, but in spite of this, Bat Boy attacks continue, and Tsukiko herself is pretty insistent that it was real. Some of them can be explained by mentally ill people being affected by the stories, but others are much more nefarious and nonsensical to just write off, especially when the stories morph into much more life-threatening violence. Now, a lot of it can be explained by a standalone complex, multiple unrelated incidents that look connected by minor details or people warping it to just be similar for the sake of it, but there's hints throughout all of it that something is wrong. Hell, there's outright ghosts that show up just to drive the point home. The story is not shy about delving into the supernatural, and it's an element woven into the dream logic to catch you off guard, mainly due to another major theme of the story being delusions, how perception can make the world look completely different to different people, so you don't know if something is actually a hint to a larger mythos, or if somebody's just off their rocker crazy, because both instances do happen. You see characters who convince themselves that they are the complete victims of the world, even as they ruin the lives of everyone around them. Hirakawa, the police officer I mentioned earlier, is an amoral and outright evil man, but he sees the world through a filter where he's always the good guy and doesn't do anything wrong, even as he commits kidnappings, robberies, and is even revealed to be lustful towards his own daughter. And he's one of the more grounded characters, since all his issues really amount to is he sees himself as a hero when he's nowhere close. Subconsciously, he does know he's the bad guy, but he never makes any active steps to change, he just blames everyone else for it. Now, another character is Harumi, who is legitimately mentally ill, dealing with dissociative identity disorder that causes her to live with an alter ego named Maria, a hedonistic prostitute that is aware of Harumi's efforts to repress her now that she's engaged with a co-worker at the university she works at. There's clear evidence that the people Batboy attacks are insane and have problems with determining what reality truly is. They're tired, broken people consumed with doubts and worries, and each victim says they feel strangely better after their attacks, as though he lifted a burden off their shoulders. It's as though Batboy is a more positive figure, an urban legend that comes to those in need and helps them through basically a trial by fire. Deal with an attack by Batboy and you'll feel your worries go away. But something about this explanation makes no sense. For one, Batboy is never built up as a positive being. It's very menacing and outright hostile, even killing some of his victims and taking joy in the act. And two, if Batboy is this supernatural being that just appears in front of people who have these issues, then where does he come from? You get an explanation, but it's only why it appears as this specific form. Batboy as an entity is a tulpa. Now, tulpas are a very interesting concept. It's an idea that comes from occultism that basically amounts to imagining a being into existence. Not just an imaginary friend, but a being manifested into reality through a number of people all focusing and putting energy into the idea of the being. There's a ton of fantasy and horror stories that discuss tulpas, and every other thread on X is about trying to manifest a big titty succubus GF into reality. Paranoia Agent focuses on the spread of the Batboy stories to show how the obsession over him gives him power and allows him to come into reality. If an entire city, Tokyo in specific, which has tens of millions of people in it, all believe and put power into the idea of Batboy, then Batboy can manifest into the real world. He's a completely fictional being made real by the public simply insisting he is real, which raises the question of what the hell even caused Batboy to exist in the first place. Why this form? And the answer is simple. He was the character Tsukiko made up as a child to avoid getting in trouble after she accidentally let her dog die. She was scared of being punished by her father and made up a boy on roller skates that attacked her and killed her dog. For 10 years, Batboy was sitting in the back of her subconscious and was unleashed with the creation of Moromi, who she based off her dog. The reason there's such an emphasis on the popularity of the Moromi character is because it's linked at the hip with Batboy. One can't exist without the other. You see constant references to how popular Moromi is getting as a character. Throughout the entire show, as each episode develops, it becomes more of a forefront, to the point they're throwing entire festivals in its honor towards the end of it, and by the finale, you see Moromi and Batboy fuse into one amorphous blob that consumes Tokyo, something that is addressed as actually happening. But in the end, everything goes back to normal. Despite the entire city torn apart and tons of people dying, it's quickly repaired in 2 years and all the characters are back right where they started, albeit in slightly better positions, because human nature is too hard to change. Even after something as fantastical and horrifying as the Batboy incident, it's even addressed before the finale by one of the characters. Humans might fall into delusions and want to escape reality at times, but they know deep down it's fake, and that they need to tackle reality head on instead of running away into a fantasy world. It's not a complete happy ending, because all the bad habits that caused Batboy to appear in the first place are still very much a thing. A lot of the dialogue and even animations from the intro are repeated to show this very point. And the point being, Batboy was just a meme, one that got out of control, but a meme nonetheless. It had its time in the spotlight and faded away. It gained power from people paying attention to it, but once people moved on to something else, it just doesn't exist anymore. No one remembers, no one gives a shit. The way they talk about Tokyo being destroyed after the finale is in passing. It's only been 2 years and everyone talks as if it happened 50 years prior. They just don't care anymore. The public forgot about it and moved on with their lives, ready for the next thing to come in and take all their attention away, outright shown with the creation of a cat character that looks suspiciously like Moromi. It's a bittersweet ending. The cataclysm has stopped and Batboy vanishes, all the characters seem like they're gonna be moving on to the next part of their lives, but we're right back to where we started. Those problems that plagued the characters still exist. Even the risk of a city-wiping threat can't undo the simple reality that life is hard. Probably the best example of it is Harumi herself. By the end of her episode, it seems as if she finally got a handle on her disorder and was ready to get married, but by the finale, she's walking down an alleyway covered in makeup and disheveled, just like before. It's not easy to get rid of what she's dealing with, because that's not really the point of the series. It's not about moving past your problems and permanently locking them away, it's just accepting those problems exist, and sometimes you just don't get past them. You still have anxieties, you still have stresses, you still have worries. It simply is what it is. Regardless, you can work past them if you're willing to knuckle down and handle it, instead of trying to run away or blame others for your issues. I can't say Paranoia Agent is a particularly positive story, more that it's just an honest look at people, at our nature, our problems, and how others view themselves and the world. There's a reason this anime can go from being funny to outright upsetting, because that's life. You hear funny stories, sad stories, horror stories, a melting pot of ideas and situations that paint a larger picture of the world around you. Yeah, there's moments where you want to bury your head in the sand and escape from it all, but at the end of the day, you gotta pull it out and take a breath. Definitely don't run yourself ragged, but remember that life is all about balance. Keep on walking, but remember to stop and look at the trees sometimes. I absolutely love Paranoia Agent. It tickles that part of my brain that just makes me stare at the screen and refuse to blink. The way it can handle so many different characters and concepts is very impressive. It's almost a different show with every episode, yet it's recognizably itself. I highly recommend you guys check this out. It's almost required viewing if you think yourself a fan of anime. It's only 13 episodes, each one is like 24 minutes long, so it's not as much of an investment as other series, and this one is guaranteed to stick in your brain for a long time. It's a legitimate work of art that should be appreciated, and is further proof that Satoshi Kon was taken from the world way too soon. And if you go in wanting the next Perfect Blue, you're gonna be disappointed. It never dips into the sheer darkness that movie gets to, but it's shoulder to shoulder with Paprika, using whimsical dream logic to tell a story about tired people. Now, it never gets as abstract as Paprika, which is really one of the best representations of dream logic in media, but it's not far off, and simply amounts to using it in a different way for a different story. I can't praise Paranoia Agent highly enough, and you all should really sit down to watch this. It's absolutely fantastic. It may not click with everybody, but if it does, then you'll find something you can easily call a greatest of all time. Regardless, I'm going to wrap things up here. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys. Hey loser, do you want a shirt? Do you want a t-shirt? I have shirts now. Look in the description for a link to a t-shirt you can buy. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll kill your family. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll poison your dog. If you don't buy the t-shirt, you're going to be the only person in town that does not have a t-shirt. Everyone's going to look at you funny. There's going to be social consequences to not having one of these t-shirts. I'm now making express threats of violence against you if you do not buy my t-shirt. I will call the police, tell them how you're not buying my shirt. They're gonna plant crack in your house, and they're gonna arrest you and then beat you up in a jail cell. Buy my shirt.